Hello, this is Dr. Jerry Law, Director of Family Education and Leadership Training for Meadows Behavioral Healthcare. I'd like to thank you for joining me in this discussion on the benefits of a group therapy approach in treatment. As you may know, at the various Meadows programs, we place a high emphasis on group therapy. The purpose of this video is to share with you exactly why we have chosen this approach for treatment for your loved one. In order to validate my comments, I will frequently quote leading experts in this video as well. Now, there are many types of group therapy. As Dr. Irvin Yalom writes in his very famous book, The Theory and Practice of Group Psychotherapy, he states, and I quote, "The multiplicity of forms is so evident today that it's best not to speak of group therapy, but rather of the many group therapies," end quote. Psychotherapist Ali Miller, who's a marriage and family therapist and also specializes in working with couples and groups, identified the various types. Some groups focus on interpersonal learning. Members talk about how they feel in relation to each other. In support groups, members focus more on what's happening in their lives outside the group. Miller leads what she refers to as hybrid groups. Let me quote her here. "There is encouragement to both talk about your life outside the group and also talk about the dynamics within the group," end quote. Now, this approach is along the lines of how we engage your friend or family member in doing the work they need to do around the issues they are facing. There are also psychoeducational groups where a clinician teaches members specific skills, such as anger management or dialectical behavior therapy. These psychoeducational groups are also a major component of the treatment in our programs. Let me quote Ali Miller once again. She says, "What I think they all have in common is people coming together under the leadership of a trained group therapist to work on improving their lives in one way or another," end quote. So, why is group therapy so helpful? Here are 5 reasons why group therapy is so effective. Number 1, group therapy helps an individual realize they are not alone. According to Dr. Yalom in the book previously cited, he says, quote, "Many patients enter therapy with the disquieting thought that they are unique in their struggles, that they're alone and have certain frightening or unacceptable problems, thoughts, impulses, and even fantasies," end quote. Now, it is true that each of us is unique, and you may have unique circumstances, but none of us is alone in our struggles. For instance, for years, Yalom has asked members of a process group to anonymously write down the one thing they would not share in the group. Members in this group included medical students, psychiatric residents, nurses, technicians, Peace Corps volunteers, as well as just everyday folks. The secrets were startlingly similar. Several themes emerged. People believed they were inadequate or even incompetent. They felt alienated and worried that they couldn't care for or love another person. And a third category included some kind of sexual secret. What needs to be recognized here is that group therapy reduces isolation and alienation. It increases the sense that we're all in this together and actually normalizes suffering. Number 2, group therapy facilitates giving and receiving support. One great misconception about group therapy is that members just take turns receiving individual therapy from the therapist while the others observe. That's really not what takes place. Members are encouraged to turn to each other for support, feedback, and connection, instead of getting it all from the clinician. Feedback using a powerful tool called the talking and listening boundary provides opportunity for multiple viewpoints and strategies to be presented. Here's an example that is seen frequently. One member feels isolated and lonely and really doesn't know how to make friends. The group supports him or her by listening when he or she talks and engaging with them the entire session, which itself decreases that sense of isolation. The members also share their own experiences, and they share how they've navigated loneliness and overcome isolation, offering hope, inspiration, encouragement, and sometimes suggestions. Number 3, group therapy helps an individual find his or her voice. Ali Miller defined voice as, quote, becoming aware of your own feelings and needs and expressing them, end quote. In group therapy, members are encouraged to notice how they're feeling throughout the session and, very importantly, to talk about it. I'll quote Dr. Miller here once again. Many people don't know how they are feeling when they are interacting with other people because it can be challenging to be self-connected when trying to connect with others. This is one of the things I focus on most in my group, said Dr. Miller. Number 4, group therapy helps people relate to others and themselves in healthier ways. Often, people don't understand why their relationships simply aren't working. In the safe atmosphere of group therapy, members can get honest feedback from others who care about them to one degree or another. Powerful bonds that may last a lifetime are often established in therapy groups. Groups provide the opportunity to see how people relate to others in the moment. Opportunities abound to practice what we call mindfulness, another critical tool for getting in touch with our own emotions. Learning to be present in a group setting not only promotes support for other members of the group, it teaches us as individuals the importance of connection with others as a critical component of recovery. According to Miller, quote, you start to see you have way more choices available to you for how to relate to others. It helps people get out of relational ruts, liberates people to get unstuck from patterns of relating that simply are not serving them, end quote. Often, group members who are introverts are able to find healthy ways of sharing their hopes, dreams, and fears. Extroverts may discover that, well, frankly, their outgoing nature turns some people off, and they also realize that they're better served to be more selective with their friendliness. Number 5, group therapy provides a safety net. This is so very critical in the healing process. Having the opportunity to practice new skills and interpersonal connections within the group helps individuals gain confidence in their ability to use these skills outside in the real world. They're also able to carry the group's support with them between sessions, making it easier to take risks. Knowing someone will catch you if you fall emboldens you to leap. The group becomes the safety net. Now let me give you an example from a friend of mine. This young fellow recently graduated from the firefighter academy, and he told me that in their training, one thing never ever happens. And that thing is that on day 1, they don't throw the cadets all the equipment and say, get on the truck, we're going to a fire. No, instead, they learn to use the equipment in the safety of the academy, long before actually having to go out and face it in the real world. It's that safety net component that is so critical. Now, at first, the idea of participating in group therapy might seem intimidating. Who in the world wants to share their story with strangers? However, participants are often surprised by how rewarding their experience can be. Knowing why group therapy is so effective, well, let's review some of the benefits of this approach to treatment. As touched on already, groups provide support. Hearing from others with similar issues helps your loved one see that they are not alone in having challenges, whether he or she is grappling with panic attacks, depression, or another mental health issue. Many people quickly experience a sense of relief. Groups provide a sounding board. If, for example, a group member talks about a disagreement they had with an individual, the other group members can see things in the way that your loved one may not and offer alternative methods for resolution. Hearing from other people about how we come across can be very powerful. This wider range of perspectives on our situation can help us deal with our own problems better. Groups help propel an individual forward. Hearing how other members successfully overcame their fears or how they confronted a family member over drug abuse can be very encouraging. It's not unusual for a patient to push himself or herself harder when they see what others are doing about similar issues in their lives. Groups promote social skills. Groups help to ease a sense of isolation. Many, perhaps most, of the individuals who come to treatment have a history of isolation, whether it's based on fear or avoiding accountability for their behavior. Participation in a group helps individuals understand that they can get along with others and that accountability is actually a blessing. One of the reasons 12-step programs are strongly encouraged is to assist your friend or family member in reaching out to others who understand. There's just nothing like being in a group of individuals who get it when it comes to eliminating unhealthy social skills. Groups teach you about yourself. Every person in the group holds up a mirror, and each person gets to see themselves through their own eyes. It's a way of uncovering the blind spots that may be blocking our ability to overcome our own issues. If you're familiar with something called the Johari window, you know how easy it is for us to fail to see our own blind spots. Groups can be sharing and healing. Now, here's a story I read online, and I'm quoting. Like many people, Tracy B. of Greenville, South Carolina, was diagnosed with bipolar disorder as a teen. She was skeptical that she could find benefit from a group. However, 3 years earlier, after a failed suicide attempt, she went into group therapy while recovering in the hospital. Now, let me quote her here. I had a much more open mind to it because at that point I had nothing left to lose. I was going to do whatever the doctors told me, and doctors told me I would benefit from group therapy. End quote. Right away, though, Barr found that the suggestions the group offered were exactly what she needed. She said the group helped me most with coping skills. I learned very simple and very effective things, such as what boundaries are and are not allowed in my life, and what things are good or not good for my manic side. Barr also found that sharing her story with others was very meaningful and very healing. The group experience, Barr says, definitely helped me over the hump. From there, she says, it was a matter of building on small victories, going from being unable to do laundry to launching a new career as a chef, and now being able to make presentations about healthy eating in front of large crowds. While in treatment, your loved one will have many opportunities for one-on-one work. In some cases, he or she will have regular individuals or sessions with their primary counselor, or have the ability to meet with a therapist made available for evening or weekend sessions. Individual therapy is also a regular part of trauma work, such as EMDR, somatic experiencing, or work with a technician in our brain centers. Your loved one will also meet regularly with a psychiatric provider for one-on-one support. However, the foundation of the Meadows model is group work, as the evidence is clear that we live in community and we heal in community. I hope this discussion on the benefits of group therapy approach has been helpful for you.